Hello, everyone. This is Julie from August Birdsong, and I just am coming to you today with some samples of what I'm doing with my Ancient Times project, if you want to call it that. I'm not sure exactly how it will end when it's all done. But so far, it seems to be kind of a series of journals, if you want to call them journals, more visual journals. I've have two that I've named so far. This one is the Mediterranean Blues. It's not done by any means, but I'm working on it and continuing to make more Gelli prints. So if you saw my other video, you've seen this one before. I did finish the back page here with this. But so far, that's about where that one is at. This one is Persian Dreams, and here is kind of a shop or market or bazaar. This one is in Persia, was what today we would call modern Iran, so in the Middle East. And so with this one, I'm kind of bringing in the desert, and ironically, I use the green with it, but it's, to me, it's almost part of that mirage, hopeful, finding a water hole kind of idea. These are papers that kind of got me started on this whole project a year ago. I purchased them from the Etsy shop Medieval Mirage, and you can see there's green in those images and all, and in this one too. And that was sort of when I was first playing around with the idea of, I want to do something from this ancient time. And at that point, I made a few of these little, like, this could have been a tag. I made it a pocket. It could have just been a focal point, but I made that on a book page. I made these ones on some book pages. Let me grab here. Here's another one I haven't put on anything yet, but it was just, something I started last summer with this vague idea of, I wanted it to be some kind of a visual journal of sorts. But the idea was just, just that kind of an idea. And I had a lot of fun working on those pieces, but then I just sort of put it all aside. And I think I was started to work on my Christmas journal, and you get caught up in things, and I tend to just sort of set things aside, and I'll put them in like a clear plastic box, and I'll label it like with a sticky note. And so I might have just labeled it like Ancient World or something like that. And it's just been sitting there. This was another one of these book pages I worked on last summer. And this image is of a woman from, women from Mrs. Cog's Crafts, has them in a World Travelers set. And so, that's kind of where this all just germinated. And it's been just sitting there in my mind. At times it's popped in, and I've thought, well, what do I want to do with that? And it wasn't until I finished my Medieval Times binder, that, if you've watched my stuff, you know what I'm talking about. It wasn't until I finished that I was like, I want to pull out these ancient things and do something with it. And I also wanted to work with my Gelli prints, because that's kind of been another thing on hold while, I've been working on all of the paper parts and DigiKit parts of making visual journals. So this is one other one that I've posted some pictures and things, but I didn't actually have it all finished with the first video. So these are, again, all jelly prints that I have torn and pasted together. This all of these so far have originated with an envelope that I simply cut the ends off, just thin, like an eighth of an inch at most. And then I took a little more off, I think just maybe half an inch off the top. And if you look at it, this is my base. And so this is where everything has started. And the jelly prints go on both sides of it. And when I lift this here, you'll see there is the window. And there's the window there. And so the girl in this image, she's actually underneath the clear plastic, and then the back of the journal, or the back of that page, let's call it, she's on the other side of this. So I put her in first and then worked on the inside. So she is not able to be moved in or out. But here I have this one. This will be in the Mediterranean blues group, if you want to call it that. And what I'm kind of playing with is working with the ancient countries and cities and places along the Mediterranean and into the Middle East, from this time. And so each of these will sort of represent different places. So obviously, if I'm going to use these, this will represent Egypt. And so that's even going into Northern Africa. And, all of these places, if you think of ancient Greece and ancient Rome and, Constantinople and going into the Middle East, things were moved from country to country through trade. And so that's kind of where this page is coming from. Here you have, this is actually from the World Travelers digital kit set from Mrs. Cog's Crafts. And this is an African man. And I perceived him as kind of a merchant. I felt like the picture kind of worked well with my idea of a merchant. And the paper in the background on this is from Medieval Mirage, and Medieval Mirage also had all the little tags and stuff that you'll see coming out. But so this page at this point is probably going to deal with trade and sailing the Mediterranean. And I just did it's not a stencil, it's called a mask. A mask is the inside of a stencil. And so here is the mask for this. And I cannot remember where I got this. I thought Stencil Girl products, but I'm thinking not, because I haven't seen it there. And I don't have the stencil, I only have the mask. So I'm still trying to figure out where this came from, but I really love using this one. And to get that effect, you just hold it down, and then I went in on a book page, and just with my distress ink, you just hold it real still. You could put like double stick tape or just very little, you don't want to tear the paper, something to hold it in place, but I just hold it with one hand and ink with the other and flip hands. And then when you take it away, you're left with the image. And from the image, to me, it looks like, businessmen or town leaders, maybe religious men. I'm not sure. But I used that one there. It started just like this one, as just this could be a tag, it could be a flap, it could just be a focal point glued down. This one started the same way, just on, as you know, I like to use my Hardy Boys book pages, and sometimes I play on words. And this one says Chapter 11, Ordered to Leave. And it just seemed, I was looking for a plain background without a lot of words in it. And I thought, well, you know, maybe they're chasing someone out of town here. You know, maybe they are the ones who were ordered to leave. This man at the end here, he almost looks like he's trying to catch up. And on the book page, I don't plan these things. It just happened to be there when I chose this. It says, "What happened?" And then the next line is something one of the Hardy Boys says, but that didn't matter. I just liked the word the phrase or sentence, "What happened?" And it made me think of him kind of running up. And so that's how this evolved. And, you know, just quirky moments like that. On this page, it also had, well, actually, this is a strip from another page. If you see here, let's see, must be the back or something that I glued on underneath that. But here it says the newcomers and something about came forward to greet. And so all those words, even though they have nothing to do with this stencil, play into the action you see in front of you on the stencil. Down here, there was the word the territory. And, you know, so it made me think of this city or town or village, whatever. Something must have happened there. Someone, whether it's them or someone else, has been ordered to leave. And in creating these kinds of things, I have a little pretend narrative going in my mind. The idea of what if this happened? What if someone had done that? And those are the fun things that then just draw the viewer or you as the artist in further into creating, you know, some kind of visual story. So this one I will use. I haven't put it anywhere yet. And I glued this one down just before doing the video. And this is in my medieval garden video. The way you create a pocket is by, and I'm just showing you here with these that it's a pocket. Okay. If you wanted to have some depth that you can actually tuck something in fairly easily and have it stay, you want to put some little brackets, or I'm trying to think of the word for it. This is how I do it. I'm just going to show you. I'm not going to glue this one and all, but I just take a strip. This is about an inch wide, and I'm going to just cut it along here. And then I do two shorter ones for each of these sides, and then that's the opening. And you don't have to use this, you can fold it, but I like to use my little mini scoreboard. And let me flip it so it's upright here. So this is almost an inch, so close enough. I'm going to just go to the 1/2 inch line, and I score it, and then I turn it in half, fold it in half. Let me put that back. And then, because now with this one, it's big enough, you probably could just use it that way without cutting the corners here. What I usually do, though, is just cut it, let's see, that way. You want the inner part a little smaller, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So I just cut those ends off. See how the middle here is smaller and the outer corners are a little longer. What that does is keeps it from interfering with the other one here when you do that, and you put one on each side. So if I want this to be a pocket, okay, this is my top where the ribbon is. I'm going to flip it. I want the mouth, oops, I've got to get it under the camera, sorry there. I want it so the mouth of it, okay, the open part there, faces inward. And I'm going to put glue on here and glue it down. Do the same thing with the other two sides there. And then when I'm all ready, I put glue on this outer edge of the 3, flip it over, and press it down. And what that does is creates, if you can see in there, a little bit of an accordion there, opening, so it has some give. And so that's a real easy way to make something like that. And I just use strips of cardstock. Let me just get the camera a little better here. I just use strips of cardstock from cutting off digital. So, when I cut out images from a digital kit, let me see. I always try to have everything ready, and then there's always something I don't have in front of me. But like with Mrs. Cog's digital kits, I'm grabbing it here, and other people's kits, you get something like this. And so when you cut it apart, you're always left with these strips. And especially, like the one with the title and stuff like that on it, that's probably at least an inch, maybe a little bit more. Well, no, it's just about an inch. So that's an inch. So that's exactly what I just used, except I folded it in half. And I just save these, whether they're white or cream colored or black paper. And even these strips, I don't save all the itty bitty strips, but anything big enough that I can use maybe as a label, or I especially like them on cardstock for this kind of thing. So I'm going to just set that aside now. But that's how I made the pocket on that. And finishing up with this one, these tags are not finished. They need to be distressed. Maybe have some ribbon added. These are just very plain Jane on cardstock. I would want to put something on the back of them. But I've just put them in here so you can see this will give it, I can get 3 cards and I can get 4 in even if I want. And then that flap falls over, okay? And then I can go into the journal or on the back and do more things. But by making that pocket a little deeper, it gives me more room to put some visual things without necessarily bulking up the whole journal completely. So that's where this third one is at. I haven't, it's part of the Mediterranean blues one. I haven't decided totally yet if I'm going to use these in it or a different one. I'm just kind of playing with these things right now, and then, they'll come together when I feel like I'm ready to put them in a certain place. So here are 3 stencils that are from Carolyn Doobie at Stencil Girl Products. Has created this set, and this is called, I think it's Walk Like an Egyptian. And let me get the stencil here. I was going to show it to you. So this is the stencil itself, and let me find a blank sheet of paper. So let me just do this so you can see it maybe a little better. So there you can see the stencil. Okay, and so when I put them down, I didn't do it with the Gelli print. The Gelli print was already made. And so the Gelli print probably, this is the wrong color, very much so. But it was just light enough, more in this beige and orange, kind of a cheddar color there. That's a Dina Wakley paint on there, and it's called cheddar. The Gelli print was already made. It was, just the colors down. So I came in with distress inks, and each one went through and just got the initial outline, or the figure from the stencil. And for this one, I ended up using, I first used a distress ink. I think it might be Hickory Smoke, and it just wasn't quite dark enough. So this is a Distress Oxide from Ranger and Tim Holtz called Weathered Wood. And I ended up going over it again in Weathered Wood with that. And just, as you can see, depending on the background, this one actually had that kind of pinky background. But with me using the Weathered Wood, it gave me that light background, okay? And some of the Gelli print in the background, the orange and all, even with the Weathered Wood put over it, that orange still came through, okay? This is how you make the image pop more against the Gelli print, okay? This was a stencil. These are the masks that go with the stencil. And so you can see here the 3 masks. And if I want the image to stand out more against the background, okay, because the image is light, and if it's too light, it'll just sort of blend in with everything. So what I did is using this, and you can see how grungy this mask looks. It's grungy because I used kind of a dark brown, and then I went in with actually some black distress ink. And to get this effect, you hold it in place, okay? You want to get it right over it, because otherwise it's gonna kind of change the way the shape looks. And you hold it, and then you just lightly rub just around the edges of the mask, okay? And you can do this with any mask. And if you didn't have the mask, you could always use the stencil to make the image, do that on cardstock. So imagine maybe using like black paint to get this image, and then cutting that image out and putting it over your stencil, and that would be your mask. Because you just want something so that inner part of the body on these doesn't get the black. And by doing that black edging around it all, you end up having the whole image pop. It makes it, adds depth. It makes it, more, I don't know if it's 3D, but at least, there's some depth to it. It stands out amidst the background and all. So that's how I did that. And then, as far as everything else is in these images, I just went in with distress inks again. So like some of this blue in it, some of it is paint. Like this blue, that's from the Gelli print. That was there. Because that blue was there, I used Mermaid Lagoon Distress Oxide with my stencil. And so here I'm grabbing my stencil here. And I just used that Mermaid Lagoon through the stencil to create these other shapes. And I was just very random. I didn't put a ton. If you want number-wise, go for odd number. And it's good to just, sometimes maybe have it where it's cutting off out of the picture. And it's not, always perfect and aligned and all. So I did that just randomly on there. And then I went in with a little stamp of mine. Here it is. This is a very inexpensive little Prima stamp. And I mean, it's just the clear plastic kind. You can see, and it's like a crackled or something like that it's called. I mean, these are very inexpensive stencil-wise. And here I've got a bee one, a little, honeycomb. Same thing. And these were just little Prima stencils I collected along the way. And what you do, you don't want to put the whole thing down. So for this crackling here, which I wanted it to look like rock, marble, whatever. Ancient, it has some cracks in it, the natural veins in the rock, whatever. So I just, put this in my black distress ink, just lightly, holding each side, okay? And then just went, a little here, a little there, a little there, totally random, okay? Just putting it in places so that it just looks like part of the surface that this image was painted on at some point. And I did it with these also, okay? Same thing. The other thing I did was, let's see, I used the little hieroglyph stencil. This is another one from Carolyn Dubie. It's in the same, it's a separate set, but the set that has Walking Like an Egyptian, has the images and the masks when you get it. This is in that same Egyptian theme of hers. And this one is called, let's see here, I wrote it down, Egyptian Hieroglyphs. And so this is a small one, and I did the same thing. I just randomly kind of put different images in different places and just inked them in. And again, you want it to be subtle in there because your focal point is the image of, in this case, this is Hathor. And she is the goddess, a mother goddess of sky, fertility, music, joy, dance, and mother of pharaohs. And I found that information at the Stencil Girl website with this. This one is Anubis, god of the afterlife. And he, let's see here. He is patron god of lost souls, and he's associated with the color black for the Nile soil, the Nile River, and the soil for farming. And then this one, he didn't have a name other than she referred to him as Triangular Skirt Man. And he just represents how Egyptian men dressed. And so anyways, for those images, I again just went in, like here's the little goose, it kind of looks like, and let's see, where is the goose on here? There's two, or maybe he's a duck and that's a goose or an owl, I'm not sure. But just went in randomly with those to add to the visual background. So that's just a little bit of introduction to tell you how I went about making these things and making them look old. Like I said, they'll be going into this series. Here was another stencil, and this was some herbs, and this is from Stencil Girl Products. I put this one actually on the Gelli plate. And with the next video I make, I'm going to show you how to do that. This could be a pocket again. It's just mounted on an old book page. And then here, this is rosemary. And this blue here, if you look, this is old paint that was pulled up when I pulled up the Gelli print. Same with this along here. And if you can see it, it's raised above the regular paint, and it's the old crusty bits of paint that were still on the Gelli plate. And so, that's extra that ends up in your art just for free. It's not planned, it just ends up when you pull the Gelli plate print. So my next video will show you how to go about doing that. I hope you enjoyed this, maybe got some tips on ways to use your stencil, and get really cool effects with stencils and with your paints and distress inks and all of that. So I'll be back soon with the other video. Bye-bye.